Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we're talking contemporary romance and covering Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez.
So let's start with why we selected the book, Say You'll Remember Me. It is impossible to not laugh, cry, and swoon whenever you read an Abby Jimenez book. They often have like this perfect blend of like authenticity, but also escapism, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Her
Or
characters,
escape roomism.
oh yeah, ooh, that's a good one for this book,
Ooh, yeah.
which we'll talk more about because I'm not sure like an escape room on the first date is like what I would want to sign up for, but
Yeah, no.
to each his own.
Could be fun. Yeah.
Her characters also have these complex backstories, and that's really common in all of her books, that often relate to their parents and influence their decision making as adults. And then I thought the instant connection between Xavier and Samantha is super relatable for people who have experienced that, which I did with my husband a long time ago. And then we also have a pretty honest look at what it's like to be in a long distance relationship. So if you've ever been in one, this book probably hits home on a lot of different points. And then lastly, it has what I believe is a pretty authentic perspective on what it's like to deal with a loved one diagnosed with dementia. Um, as we've probably talked about on past episodes, I've had family members diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's, so this book resonated a lot with me too.
Same. My father has Alzheimer's, so it was difficult at some points to be like, yeah, I relate to that. But it's just life, and that's the truth of it. And that's kind of also the beauty of like these kinds of books, because it's like I'm also dealing with the same thing, but I can still have like a romantic interest, so I can still have a life. So it's
Yes.
yeah, I enjoyed that. But here are a few things you should know about our author, Abby Jimenez. She is a New York Times bestselling author and a Food Network champion. Very fun. She's written 7 contemporary romance books, with Say You'll Remember Me being her newest book. And it's the first book in a new series for her, and it only took her 3 months to write, so that's pretty exciting. So hopefully we'll get some more soon. And she writes all of her books on her phone.
Yeah.
How?
Isn't that
I'm just
crazy?
like, what? Like she's just like floating like on a tube on a lake somewhere, or like at the grocery store, just like, I'm gonna write this part of my book right now. And I'm like, amazing. That is so cool. And they turned out so great. And her social media content is hilarious, especially involving her dogs, Tess and Stuntman Mike. So I really like the dog names. It's great. Like I love
Yeah,
Jake from State Farm.
right? Her dog names are really great. And like those of you who've read other books, Stuntman Mike does make some appearances in some of her books. But her Tess is a poodle pointer, which I didn't know was a dog breed. And that dog is super entertaining on social media and gets into the most ridiculous situations. And whenever like my kids hear me watching a video, because she has, when she's telling Tessa's story, Tess has like a voice. My
Hmm.
kids know exactly who it is. And they're like, oh, turn it up. We want to hear what's going on with Tess.
Oh,
So
it's so cute.
it's really cute. So, but
Oh.
before we jump into discussing this book, a couple of key reminders. This episode will contain spoilers. We assume if you're listening, you've read the book, you've been warned. And then also, if you've read the book, you know that there are a number of topics that may be sensitive for some readers: animal abuse or death, child abuse, dementia, death, and emotional abuse.
Yeah, so it definitely does have some heavy points, so you want to be prepared for that. But now let's talk tropes. So, first and pretty obvious trope is you have the grump and the sunshine. So, it's clear from the beginning that Xavier brings some grumpy vibes to the story. Like, he's just like this moody, broody guy. And Samantha is exactly the polar opposite. She's super outgoing, playful, relaxed version of him when they're together. And, it's great. They're wonderful to see together. It's nice that like she brings out the relaxed side of him, and he doesn't bring out a grumpy side of her. So it's good. It's like
Thankfully, right?
her sunshine overshadows his shadows. So that's nice. And next you have soulmates. So literally there is an instant connection between the two of them. And it grows super strong throughout the book. They both believe that they found the one, which they are really committed to making it work, even though they're long distance. But like every time they're together, they're just like, it just feels right. Like, this is my person. This is who I'm supposed to be with. This is who I want to witness my life. And that's what you're all looking for at the end of the day. Like, I just want someone to witness my life with me. And they found that. And they got to make it work long distance.
Yes. But as we know, no love story is easy. So we got a lot of drama.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Lots.
So we first meet Xavier. His grumpy attitude is front and center because he's being asked to put a 4-year-old dog down for no good reason. So you can't blame him for being frustrated, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, the people are like, oh, like his owner died and they wanted him to die with them. And it's just like, no.
What is wrong with people?
What's wrong with you? That's so nuts.
It was so nuts. And what's infuriating is like that really does happen, which is mind-boggling to think about. But also, I did not read the like note from the author at the beginning of the book. And so I'm like into chapter 1 and I'm like, we're killing dogs already. I have a we do not kill dogs like kind of policy when I read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can kill off characters. That doesn't bother me, but we do not kill off dogs.
No.
So I was like, oh no, this is like triggering for me. But thankfully, he puts the dog in witness protection, right? He takes the dog, tells the owner he'll take care of it. And by take care of it, he decides to keep the dog himself, which we learn later is the first dog he's had since his childhood dog, Winnie.
But he still charges the lady $400 because he's like, yeah, you're a shitty person.
You deserve this, right? Which I love. So he goes from, like one room where is being asked to do something horrible to the next room where you have Samantha who has like a stray cat like inside her shirt kind of, which is super cute. And she wants it checked out because like the cat found her and she has to keep the cat. So, and he like immediately notices she's incredibly beautiful. And, the cat smells like her and he's checking out the cat. And then he looks at the cat's butt and the cat doesn't have a butthole, which is apparently a major medical problem.
Yeah. I mean, everybody poops.
Everybody
needs a butthole.
So there's two options.
Or at least like a colostomy bag, which I don't think that would work very well for a cat.
I don't think it would it? No.
No. They would pull at it,
Yes, and like bad at it. That'd be so bad. So he's like, you have two options. You can put the cat down, or there's like an expensive surgery, but like it probably wouldn't work anyways. It'd be hard to take care of the cat and the cat would suffer. So he's like, I recommend putting the cat down, which Samantha's like, absolutely not. I'm going to raise the money. And he's like, well, people are horrible. No, you're not. And she was just like, yes, I am. So right away, I love her because I love it when men tell women no, like they can't do something. And they're like, oh, buckle up, buddy. Fuck
Watch
you.
me.
You're about to see.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to see how I work. And it also is important to note that she's like this hilarious social media manager for a mustard brand, which I'm also like, where did that come from? Because I love it that it's for mustard. And she's able to fundraise all of the money she needs and then some in a very short period of time, like less than a week, for this cat to get a butthole. And she ends up even getting
cracks me up.
Right? Well, I love it because like later in the book, they call her the butthole cat lady. Mm-hmm. Like that's how like his team refers to her, like the butthole cat lady's here. But he even sees it and gives it like a donation with a note saying like, you were right, which gotta love a man who tells you that you're right when they were wrong. So
yeah.
But
and the cat's name is Pooter, which is great.
Which I also love.
I'm like, oh my God, Pooter's butthole. A pooter for Pooter.
Right?
It's so great. But so 6 weeks later, Samantha goes to see Xavier again and to get her cat checked out before she has to travel. So she's like, hey, look, he got a surgery. He's good. But like, just clear him for travel, please. And they're both super excited to see each other again because after making small talk and examining Pooter's pooter, Xavier finally asks her out on a date. And she immediately is just like, yes. And you're like, oh, yeah. She's like, but it has to be tonight because I'm leaving town tomorrow. Hence why she had to bring the cat in to get checked out. And let's just say this brings the first biggest smile to an otherwise grumpy face on Xavier. And his staff notice for sure. Like Maggie and Tina are just like, oh my God. Like they all know him and he's like a grump, but he's got like a good heart, but like they never see him smile. And so they politely tell him like, hey, like you're kind of scary looking sometimes. Like we love you in the best way possible, but like you should probably smile every once in a while. And like she did call you an asshole, which is funny because the cat needs an asshole. But like she still wants to go on a date with you. And we hear them again reference to him as like Rysand. So which like the entire time they're just like, oh my God, he's like Akatar Ryzen, like in the flesh. And you're like, okay, I can see this. Like,
I'm also here for that.
I got my Valaris shirt on. I'm just like, okay, okay, thank you very much. So he's not, we love him, even though he's not like a shadow daddy. He's a grumpy daddy. We're like,
Oh, I
okay,
like that.
we can get behind this. So while Xavier has dated in the past, he does seem to kind of put a lot of effort into this first date. And we see he calls one of his best friends to get advice, basically being like, hey, like, I don't want this date to, end like later. And so he definitely relies on his friends, which is very sweet. But again, gives off the Ryzen vibes of he's scary, but he's really a nice guy once you get to know him. So now it's time for the date. And Xavier picks up Samantha, brings her a succulent instead of flowers. Because he's like, yeah, you mentioned you're leaving, so like I didn't want to bring you something that you can't like have. And it's like, that's so sweet. Plus then he's like, I'm gonna take you on a sunset cruise. It happens to be an adoption event, so there's gonna be lots of food and puppies. Which I'm like, sign me up. I would love to go. Also, but I would end up just trying to take all the dogs home. So that'd probably be a problem for me. I'd be like, they're all coming with me now.
That would be a problem for my husband. He says we can't have more dogs. Not a problem for me.
Yeah, I'm like, give me all the animals, please. So they're about to go on to the boat, and they're on the dock, and Samantha goes to grab her phone, and it just falls into the lake. And it's a big problem because her sister is calling her, which means it could be about her mother who has dementia. So she's like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I need my phone. What if it was an emergency? Like, what if my mom needs me? Like, but her phone is like lighting up at the bottom of the lake, which isn't too far down. It's like 6 feet. But she's just like freaking out and planning to like jump into like herself. And Xavier's like, nope, I'll do it. Takes off his shirt and you're like, oops, I dropped my phone in too. My bad. Like, right? Please take you. And he like jumps right in, and it's just so sweet. And like, he's a hot, sexy guy who loves animals and like helps the damsel in distress, if you will. Like, yes. And when he takes off his shirt, every single lady, including Samantha, is just like, hello, Dr. Rush. Thank you.
Right? Thank you.
Gives me a rush. Yes.
Right?
Love it.
Well, and how many men would you know that would just like do that on a first date? Like, I feel like that's a rarity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, where they would.
It's like, but good sign. You're like,
good sign.
I like this.
So they get on the boat, and Xavier's like walking around with wet pants because, I mean, what else are you going to do? And everyone seems to know him and makes a point to speak to him. So, which you can learn a lot by that pretty quickly, right? So clearly he's well respected and well liked. And then he makes a comment. Go ahead.
I was like, but by the way, her mom was fine. It was literally just a check-in call her sister made. Like, that's the best part. It's like, oh, everything's actually fine. Like, it was just her sister being like, do you need like an emergency, like get out of the date call? And it's like, no, but thank you for calling because now I got to see his shirt off. So it's okay.
Yeah, right? Like, thank you. I'm also like, don't you have like an Apple Watch or something? Couldn't you have like answered it or like sent a text and seen that? I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
but we got to see it. Well, we didn't get to see it. We got to imagine what it was like with the shirt off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like to drink because he doesn't like to feel out of control and because he's driving. But I think the reality is like his lack of interest in drinking probably relates a lot more to like his father's alcoholism that we learn about later than anything else. And he does share with Samantha that he's an only child and he doesn't speak to his parents. And then later in the book, we learn why, and it's definitely a doozy. But at the end of the cruise, he doesn't want the date to end, which is really, really sweet. And neither does Samantha. So after a quick stop by, neither do we, right? I'm like, but I'm also like, this is like, what time is it? Lots of questions.
It's late.
He's like, can I like stop by my house to shower and change? Like, you can wait in the car. She's like, no, I want to come into your house. I want to see like what's going on, because there's no better way than to find out something about people it's just by stopping by unannounced. Yeah. So
she's like, how do I know you're not going to hide your burner phones? You're not a drug dealer. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, sure.
Sure. Like, who has burner phones? Well, it reminds me of Catherine in Kiss and Don't Tell, who is like assuming everyone's gonna like murder you. That's like when I thought of when I read this. I was just like, she has kind of like that little like, what if you're hiding things from me?
Yeah. But like in like a mischievous, like cute way.
Yes, like not
You
in like
know?
a serious, like I think you're going to chain me up in your basement type of way.
Yeah.
Like in
Unless you
a,
want to.
right? We'll see.
Never list. Hello.
Never list, right?
Mm.
But we get to meet his dog, which he asked on the boat, hey, if you had to name a dog in the witness protection program, what would you say? Well, like, what would you name him? And she says Jake from State Farm. So when she meets his dog, who didn't have a name prior, he goes, this is Jake from State Farm, which is super hilarious and also a great dog name.
Great
Like,
dog
you will never
name.
forget that.
Yeah.
Anyways, she's basically a ton of fun. And so Xavier had called his friends. This is like the second time he's called someone in his friend group. Well, I think he texted them, was like, hey, I need a place to take her. And like some of their responses were like, a hotel. And right, like they're super helpful. They end up at this putt-putt place, but which should be great. So he thinks they're going to go play putt-putt, and they get there, and all of his friends are there, which is, I would have been like, he was pretty like controlled but livid inside, I think is the best way I would say it. Especially because how many people, like I'm assuming it's like what, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night at this point?
Late.
It's
Yeah.
late. People got out of what I would assume is their pajamas, because I'm in my pajamas at that point.
Absolutely.
Got themselves presentable, drove somewhere to go surprise this guy.
Yeah.
So this must be, like, it takes me a true emergency to get me out of my house late at night. So, like, kudos to his friends for showing up and spying on them. Like, this must be a real rarity if they felt like this is an emergency enough that we need to see, like, who is this girl and what is going on?
Yes. Yes. Like, let's jump in. Let's make him uncomfortable, but like in a fun way. And he's just like,
Right.
oh my God, everyone is here. Which, to be fair, is 100% something I would do for someone. If there was a friend of mine that was like that, I'd be like, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to be
And
there.
see what happens.
And I'm going to take notes and see what's going on. So funny. I love it. So after literally beating his friends at pretty much every activity, like Samantha is fitting in great and she's like got their approval. They head out, and again, they're still like, we want to be together. So like, we don't want this night to end. Like, she's like, well, I have a flight at like 6 a.m., but like, I could still go out and do something. And they're like, you know what? Let's do an escape room last minute. And super big guts to go in an escape room with someone you don't really know that well and late at night, and you're being locked in the room together. And it's just like, okay, we're gonna have to work this out, figure it out, see if we're really compatible, honestly. But you know what? They work together beautifully, and they, figure everything out. But then they get stuck because they can't actually leave the room because the door is locked and everyone's gone for the night. Like the teenager at the front was just like, whatever, and just like forgot they were in there. And they keep being like, well, surely they'll notice like our car is still here. And he's like, no, like there's like a bar over there. People probably leave cars all the time. Like, we're stuck in here. And then to make matters worse, for some reason, at the end of the escape room, the song Come On Eileen plays, and it just keeps playing on repeat. It's like every 4 minutes, come on Eileen, do 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 do. It's just like over and over on repeat for like hours at this point. And so they're like, okay, well, we're locked in here, so nothing we can do. We don't have our phones because we couldn't bring them in. So they take this time to get to know each other a little bit better. And it's clear that Xavier is very guarded because he won't fully open up about the experience that made him want to be a vet. But Samantha does share about her mother who has dementia and how that's impacting her leaving. And basically, she kind of leaves out the part about her moving to be with her mom the next day. And we also learn that Xavier was abused physically, verbally, and emotionally as a child, and that he moved out when he was 17 and literally has not spoken to his parents since. And this literally has impacted every single decision he's ever made, and explains like why he believes most people are assholes, because it makes sense. You're raised by assholes.
Right.
And he struggles to be happy. So first time he's really told this story to anyone besides his friends who were like there when it happened. So that's like a true bonding moment for him and Samantha. And then the longest date ever finally ends when the manager lets them out at 5 a.m. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened. And, Samantha's just like, whatever, just let me out. And Xavier's like, I'm gonna write a very crucial like Yelp review, you know. And Xavier rushes to get her home to get ready to catch her flight. And literally she is just like a spaz at this point. Like she has an air mattress and he's like, you don't have any furniture? Like she's just like throwing everything in her suitcase, her wet towel, her toothbrush, the succulent, just like everything in there to catch her flight because she's literally moving. And she like literally left out this
The most
fact of her
important
life.
detail, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, let's have the best date of our lives. By the way, you'll never see me again. Like, I'm moving to California. Here's my flight. See you later, alligator. And he was not very happy about that because he's like, we made a connection. I shared things with you. Like, this hasn't happened to me. Like, I don't want you to leave. But it's kind of annoying because it's like, it's still a lie. Like, just because you omitted this fact, like, you weren't very forthcoming about this. Like, I get a little annoyed, honestly. And it's very heartbreaking because he like drops her off at the airport and he's like, now what? And she's just like, you gotta forget me. Like, this was fun. It was great, but it's not gonna go anywhere. Like, there's a great memory, core memory in there, and like, we're done. But you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
right?
why did you even bother? Like, why did you even do this? That's not fair. Like,
Well, all I'm thinking is one, like so it surprised me that she was like going to be moving because I assumed she was just going on like a trip to see her mom, like out to California
right,
for a
yeah.
couple of days or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, one, I wouldn't plan to go on, well, I'm married, but if I was not married and dating, I would not like go on a first date the night before I went on a vacation or any type of trip, let alone moving. Like it's just,
No.
and I would think that you would tell someone like, hey,
You
yeah,
should.
happy to go out with you, but like, I'm going to be moving halfway across the country tomorrow. Do you
Yeah.
still want to like go out?
Yeah. So like literally this sets the bar though for their communication skills throughout the entire book because
It really does.
it's just the same. They just don't communicate at all. To the point where like they're literally in the opposite places. You know,
Well,
you're like,
and it's weird because it's not like I feel like it's not like the standard miscommunication that we often see in like romance novels where it's like they don't communicate about important stuff. I feel like they communicate about important stuff together, like for the most part, but like not the like obvious things, if that makes sense. Not like, hey, I'm moving to
Yeah.
California, or yes, I'm gonna come see you. They talk
Yeah.
about all of this in-depth important things about life and what they want, but it's like where
like
I'm
they got it
physically going to
backwards.
be. Yes. Like
You
you
got it
need all of
backwards.
it, people.
Yeah, it's like you're talking about the deep depth stuff like my upbringing and like why I did this in my life, but not like the hey, I surface level.
Yes.
My favorite color is blue. Or you know, it's just like there's basic stuff that you're just not saying like, hey, I'm moving.
Right. It's
Oh.
that's what like was kind of like an interesting flip that I've not seen before. But so Samantha moves to California, Xavier stays in Minnesota, and fast forward a few weeks, she's trying to get accustomed to life in California. She lives in an apartment in the backyard of her grandma's house while her grandma, mom, dad, sister, her two kids, and her brother Tristan, who I loved his character, live in the house as they try to work together to take care of their mom. So it really is
And
like
they live
that
in
kind
Glendale,
yes.
which is like close. I mean, not close to me, but like it's like an hour and a half away. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how do all these people live in this house? Like that's a very expensive area. So, but then they talk about how like this was the grandmother's house, so it's like clearly an older estate, basically. Like
Yes.
that's the only way they would have enough room for all these people. Like you could not
That's
get that
a lot
now.
of people. It reminded me of Full House,
Oh, it's a
like
full
the
house,
show,
all right.
because it was like a full
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And then we see Samantha gets this 1966 Dodge Dart convertible. And for those of you that don't follow Abby Jimenez on social media, like that was actually the car that she got from her grandparents when she was 16. That she actually
Aw.
recently
Yeah.
bought and is having restored, which is
That's
kind of cool.
awesome.
But anyways, so she sells her car in Minnesota because her grandma's like, I got a car for you. And so as one would think, it would be like some oil, like a Toyota or something that's like, 10, 15 years old that grandma's been driving that you're going to have. No, it's a 1966 Dodge Dart that has seen better days.
It's not reliable.
It's not reliable. For a
The air
variety of
vents.
reasons. the air vents, like things come out of there that shouldn't.
No. Oh.
But we get what are like, I think she has, her books are definitely not rom-coms, but they do have these like funny scenes that kind of happen throughout them, which is really nice. But like the first
So
scene,
funny.
and we get those with the car, right? Like when the mouse comes
Yeah.
out. But the first time with the car is probably the most jarring because you have to remember her mom at this point doesn't even know who she is, which is, if you've never
Yeah.
experienced that, it is when you see someone that you love and you care about and they don't know who you are, it's really hard, especially when you're in person. So her mom doesn't remember her, but her mom sees the car and her mom gets excited because she's like, oh, my car. And that does happen with people with dementia or Alzheimer's. Something will kind of bring them back or they remember like a certain aspect of it. And
Yeah.
her mom kind of remembers driving that car. And then you have like what is really like this freaky moment, which is her mom gets in the car, locks the door, and starts to drive away. And her mom
Yeah.
should not be in the car.
Should not be driving.
No, not be driving.
No.
Super safety. So that's a freaky moment for Samantha, right? And then I think what it does is really help her start to understand. She's like, oh, there weren't candles burning in the house. There wasn't these things. And she starts to realize how many changes to everyday life everyone else has had to make already because of her mom. And
Yeah,
it was
child locks on the door.
Yes.
But like
that
these
aren't
kids
for the
are
kids.
older and don't need it. Yeah.
And I think that if you've never experienced it, like you don't understand how much it takes every single day to help take care of someone like this. So I really appreciated like there was a lot of authentic aspects to that. But then we have Xavier.
Very true.
It was very true, right?
Yeah. Like even like my own experience, I was like, yeah, I can relate to that. Like when I had to tell my dad he couldn't drive anymore and like I had to drive him to places. Like he would fight me on it sometimes. He would literally be like, no, I'm driving. And I'm like, no, daddy, you can't drive. Like it's you come up with excuses. Like they say like, oh, it's President's Day every day. Like that's why you don't have to go to work. It's like we would say that to my dad. It's like, you know what? Like you relax. Like I'm going to drive. Like you can have a beer. I'm going to drive. It's okay. And it's just like, it's hard every single day and every day changes. And like eventually like we had to put a lock on our front door to make sure my dad couldn't get out. And it's just like one thing after another. You're like, your adult figure, you suddenly have to start treating as if they're a toddler again. And it's hard because they're physically not a toddler. Like they can overpower you and they can run and they can say stuff that's mean. But like, yeah, it's crazy. But I think Abby Jimenez really did a good job portraying that and like the struggles for the family behind that. So
I think so too.
Nice.
I think it's good for people who are going through it to feel seen, but I think it's also good for people who maybe haven't went through it to be able to read a book like this and better understand what maybe their friends are going through who are experiencing it. Well, Xavier finally calls her because his friends, I love this, right? Like his friends are like, I mean, why don't you text her or call her? And he's like, well, I did text her. I asked about the cat and make like if the cat was pooping okay. And I'm just like, why are we so
poop?
Right? Like, but that feels like such a Xavier response. Like, hey, did your cat poop okay? Like travel can upset your bowels. Okay. And then like nothing else. But they convince him to call her. So he calls her and then she's surprised and she's excited by the prospect of seeing him again. But they both have this like same apprehension, which is they live 2,000 miles apart. Like, how is this going to work out? And
that's hard.
If you've never done long distance, it is not for the faint of heart, but it is worth it for the right person. And there is like this immediate connection that they felt. So he flies out there. She picks him up at the airport. And I think they're both hoping at this point, like, it won't feel the same way. Like it'll go, like I won't feel that connection. It won't go as well. So then I'll be able to say goodbye.
Yeah, nope. Exactly.
Nope. Absolutely not. And then once again, thoughtful gifts, right? We got the succulent. Then he brings her the lava lamp that he demanded that they get for being stuck in the escape room because they didn't have enough tickets earlier in the night to get it. And she couldn't fit it in her car or in her suitcase when she flew out there. Yeah. And then he brings her cupcakes, which is like a fun cute nod, right? So Nadia's Cakes, which is what Abby Jimenez, she started her first store in California. She has 2 in Minnesota. It's where she was on Food Network and won for that for Cupcake Wars. But she's the owner of that. So you see that like in all of her books too. So he brings her some cherry cupcakes from Nadia's Cakes, which is kind of fun. And then I feel like
I'm
they
gonna go
get
get
like
some.
right. I've
I
never
think we get
been.
that. It's not too
I
far.
really want to
Maybe I'll
go.
go to Nadia's. Okay, let's do
You
it.
should do it and let me know how it goes. Because they have like
Okay,
gluten-free, vegan, like they have all kinds of fun, different stuff.
love it.
So,
Now I want a
but
cupcake.
now I want a cupcake. That's what I felt like when I read it. I was like, damn it, now I want a cupcake.
Cupcake.
And that's Minnesota was like 9 hours away. That's a long way to drive for a cupcake.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll
But
see.
their trip is kind of like, I would say, quintessential like Southern California. Like the first stop is In-N-Out, which I feel
I
like
love
if you
In-N-Out.
right? Like if you haven't been, you have to go. They go to Santa Monica Pier, which is kind of funny because when we were in California in April last year with the kids and we went to Santa Monica, it'd been a long time since we've been to the Santa Monica Pier. And I was like, why are we here?
No, no. It's very much tourist destination. People who live here, we don't go there. Like we would only go, like she said, if somebody's here and like you do
Yes.
something fun with them. Because like it's kind of run down and sketchy, and
It,
you're just like,
which is why
"Mm,
I was like, I just told the kids, I was like, okay, we are not going to spend as much time here as I thought. And moving on. But
yeah, yeah.
but she's doing like all the tourist stuff with him, which is kind of fun. And she goes on the Ferris wheel, which
Brave.
she is deathly afraid of. All it made me think of was at Disneyland, the Ferris wheel, the first time I ever rode it.
Oh, were you on a
we got
swinging one?
I was on a swinging one. I didn't know they were swinging. And it was before we had kids. It was Josh and I was literally terrified for my life.
Yeah. It freaks you
So
out. I
I,
personally, I love to go on that. Like I'm going like in a couple of days to Disneyland, and I'm gonna probably go on it, and I love it so much. But I would not go on the Santa Monica Pier one.
no, I wouldn't either. Like that, like I know it's not like a carnival. Like I know it's permanently there, but it feels like a carnival setup to me. Like in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah.
like quality and safety.
And it's like
So
right there by the ocean, so you're getting a lot of like salt, seawater buildup. Like I'm just like, no, not
no,
safe.
no, not safe.
But it's fun
So
for this moment.
it is fun for this moment, right? Because like she
Yeah,
cuddles into him and everything, which you gotta love.
yeah,
And it's his
yeah,
first time seeing the ocean, which is kind of like another like special core memory for the two of them to share.
yeah.
But they
And I love
continue.
like that scene is also like it's the cover photo for the book.
Yes,
And
very
they're
much
just like
so,
walking on the beach with like Santa Monica up here behind them. That's cute.
which is really cute. But during that kind of like first day together, they continue to dive into like super deep topics like how to survive a riptide, which is actually really important, helpful information. They continue to talk about her mom's dementia, and then they talk about the story of Winnie because he said that was like second date material, and she's like, "Isn't this our second date?" Which I cried because we don't hurt puppies, but Xavier's dad was a major asshole, and every time Winnie would have puppies, which was like kind of 4 or 5 times, he would then drown them, which made me devastated. And then Xavier he was like 12 or 13, went to a vet and begged him to help Winnie. So the vet went ahead and had her fixed and also took care of like her teeth and some her shots and everything and kept her there for like a week so she could recover. And then Xavier just acted like, oh, she runs away sometimes. Now she's back. And that vet's kindness was what led Xavier to want to become a vet. So it is a big surprise that I didn't see that coming when that vet comes back in the book later, which was
Oh
a
my God.
really cool way to tie it in together.
I got
It like gave me
goosebumps now,
I
just
did
like
too.
thinking about it again. I'm like, oh,
I
did
love
not
it.
expect that.
But I think that's what's really cool is like you have these people in your life, especially like in your childhood or early adulthood, that really fundamentally shape and change who you are. And sometimes they never know it. So, because you may never see them again or something like that. So, but then it's also so like hilarious because, and this is what I feel like I would do with some of my friends. Samantha, her brother, and her sister conspire to get Xavier's dad audited by the IRS.
Yeah,
They
because they're like, this
subscribe.
guy's a douche.
Right. And Tristan's like, I used to date someone. Would you like to get him audited by the IRS? And I would have been like, yeah, of course, right? Like, please. And I never thought Tristan could accomplish this. Well, Tristan can accomplish a lot. He has
Yeah.
a lot of exes that work in very high places, apparently.
Yeah,
And I love
don't
how
underestimate him.
don't piss him off because you'll get audited by the IRS or only have to eat foods with chorizo apparently.
Yeah. Although I love chorizo, so it's okay.
I don't, so it would be a problem for me. But then
I would be BFFs with our
you would be
chorizo.
And he likes tattoos.
You know.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I'd be like, let's go get one together.
Right? Well, and he's isn't like some point in the book he's becoming like a tattoo artist.
Yeah, yeah.
So he could even tattoo you.
Yeah.
But then I love like her sister's like, do you want to subscribe him to some political talks? I'm not saying I've done that to people in the past or made donations on their behalf in their name to organizations I know they don't support because felt like it was necessary. But that's a really great way to show your love to other people. But my favorite is when Samantha submitted a quote for him to Lending Tree. If you have never, ever applied for a mortgage or done a refinance and you've submitted something through, like Lending Tree is supposedly great because you submit something, it goes out to a bunch of different places, and then they can
get 100 bajillion calls.
You get 100 bajillion calls that never stop for like years, and text messages and emails. And they are the most relentless people in the entire world.
Yes.
So if you ever want to piss someone off, I don't know if anyone could like accomplish the getting audited by the IRS situation, but you definitely can subscribe people to political texts and emails. Emails are probably better because texts you do have to do a double opt-in typically, and they have to like reply why off if they're following legal laws, which we know they don't all do. But so subscribing them to some random email things are super fun.
Oh yes it is. But so I'm here for that drama. I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay, this is a good one. That'd be fun to do. Next person who scorns me, I'm like,
because no one's gonna know that you did it.
Well, they might know,
right now. Well,
I'm definitely not gonna do that.
If you've ever gotten something from political texts or organizations that you don't support and you've pissed me off, now you know why.
Now you know where it came from.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Don't be a douchebag. But okay. But then we finally get their first kiss. So a little segue here. And it just like takes their breath away, honestly. And it moves on to her apartment where it's so funny. We think, a hot makeout situation is going to happen. We're like, yes, this is going to be great. Like hot, steamy sex, only to then be literally cock blocked by an air mattress with a hole in it. So it's just like, they're like on it, trying to just like literally deflated your libido, if you will.
Yes. And mine as reading it.
Right. You're just like, boom. That's a bummer. But then it really gets worse when Samantha like hears some noise and she looks outside. She sees her mom outside. And she's just like struggling in the middle of the night, like in her nightgown. And she's just like, what are you doing out here? How did you get out? Like there's locks on the door. Like, and we get to see Xavier like step up and like literally be a hero, and he just like handles it with such like professional care. Like he's top tier, like a great guy. Like he's like bear hugging her mom and like whispering to her like as if she's like like a hurt animal almost, but like in a very humane way, just like,
yes,
shh, everything's okay, like you're having a panic attack or you're having an episode, like let's deal with this. But like the aftermath of the situation with her mom also starts one of the big fights within Samantha's family due to like the overall stress of the situation, which is a very true aspect of what happens when you're dealing with a loved one that has a medical condition like dementia or Alzheimer's. Like it's stressful for the whole family. Like you start blaming each other. Like, why didn't you take care of this one? Why didn't you do this? Like we got to work together. So once the evening's drama is under control, Xavier and Samantha head to his hotel to ideally try and get the spice back in their evening. But his hotel is literally why you have to look things up online beforehand, because you're going to end up in a place with cockroaches and like shady stuff going outside your door, which is what happened.
Like and condom wrappers underneath the bed.
At least they didn't find the condom, but still,
that would be worse.
Like you hear somebody getting their Miranda rights outside and like they didn't die, which is great. And they didn't like witness any crimes, but like they definitely heard somebody getting tasered and like not the place you want to stay at. I'm like,
no.
No. But they're like, you know what? How about we go somewhere else? So the next day, after they had like clean sheets put on the bed, like 100 layers, They decided to take her nephews to the LA Zoo, which is fun. And they just love Xavier too. Like they're just like, this guy's so fun, he's so cool. Like seeing him kind of like be playful with the kids is nice. Which again, Samantha's like, okay, he's a good guy. And then she's also like, crap, I like this guy.
He's a good guy. Well, and I love how she referenced like the airport dad. He's like an airport dad. Like he has everything organized and, like gives you like snacks before you need them. And I'm like, that sounds, I've never experienced that personally. Like I'm that person for my family.
Yeah, it's like
So
we have to
I'm
be
like,
that person. Yeah.
correct. I'm like, what is that like? That sounds like magical.
Like,
Someone gives you,
me?
right? Like someone gives you food before you get hangry. You don't have to worry about the snacks.
That's great.
They organize everything. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. But then, as we understand, like he lives far away. So the reality hits now when it's night before his flight home. And she again tells him, like, you need to forget me. Like, this is hard. Like, we can't do this. Like, I need you to just like not reach out to me because it's going to make this all harder for us. Like, even though we both really like each other, we need someone like nearby to actually like witness our lives, which is hard to do long distance. Especially since there's like no end in sight. Where like you have your practice, like you can't like sell it, like you'll be in debt forever, and like you can't move out here and do all that, and I can't leave my mom, like I'm not going to, which I struggled with, honestly, like connecting to this part because I'm like, yes, like you feel guilt for like not being there all those years to help, and like now you're helping, which is great, but also like your mother would want you to live your life. So I'm kind of like, I mean, things kind of work out in the end, but still, you're just like, it's an experience and it's real that like a lot of couples have in their lives of just like, no matter how you feel about somebody, sometimes there's just factors that makes it hard to make it work out. And you're like, is this worth it? Is it actually meant to be? Like, do we want to put in the work?
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, and I think too, like the hard part about long distance and like making the decision to move halfway across the country is like at this point they don't really know each other that well, and it's such like a huge jump to make that commitment. And then I think too, while I think her mom and dad, like she had a pretty good childhood growing up. I don't think they were like emotionally abusive or anything like that like Xavier experienced. But I think one of the things that is this book brings up, and you and I were talking about this type of stuff before we start recording, is there's a lot of kind of like as your parents get older conversations that most families don't have. And part of me wonders like, did they ever really talk to her mom in detail about what her mom wanted as her condition got worse? Because
Yeah.
to your point, is her mom probably, based on what we know about her, wouldn't have wanted Samantha to sacrifice her life for her.
Yeah. Yeah,
But if you
like
don't,
her mom made it clear, like she's like, I don't want to be in a home, but it's like don't want to versus like don't ever put me in one, like I'll haunt you for the rest of your life. It's like,
well, and I think that's like the standard response because I think a lot of people when they think about like I don't want to go into like a nursing home, memory care homes today are nothing like I would say like nursing homes like when you and I grew up, right? That like
yeah.
our grandparents or great grandparents might have been in. And I just wonder if people spent more time like having those kind of conversations with their loved ones before their medical conditions got really bad. They would have a more and like visited different places and did their research. They'd probably have a very different perspective on it. Because otherwise, it puts a lot of guilt and pressure on the family that has to make the decision. And they make a lot of assumptions, which I think Samantha does, which is, I want to be here for everything for my mom, even if she doesn't remember it, which is very admirable. But your mom also wouldn't want you to put your life on hold for the next decade.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I do understand though the financial aspect of it though. Like
Yes.
considering like they're all like pitching in to like renovate the house and like they're all on budgets. Like if you add on top of that, like having to pay for memory care, like that is expensive.
Very
It is
much so.
true. Like my dad's memory care. Get this, my dad's memory care that he's in right now is $18,000 a month.
That's crazy. Right?
And like that's insane. Like he has his own room, so like that's more expensive. But so if he didn't have his own room, it'd be about like 13,000 a month, which is still a lot.
Still a lot of money.
Like on average, and like
Yeah.
it's so crazy. And like I don't live that far from Glendale, so like Glendale would that area would probably be about the same. Like if you want like a nice high quality one, like of course there's the really crappy ones that you see senior like elderly abuse happen at, which those are still expensive.
Yes.
Like those are easily between 5 to 10 grand a month. And you're like, so like I understand financially, but I just don't agree with how they go about some things, honestly, in this book. But we'll kind of get to that a little bit more later.
We definitely will. But this book would be boring if they actually forgot about each other, right?
Yeah, it'd be so boring.
It'd be so boring. It'd be over.
Yeah.
But so, and I love that like it's been 6 weeks and Xavier's like grumpy as hell, right? He's just like, I just imagined kind of like the old man from Up, just like super pissed about everything, wandering
like,
around,
"Argh."
right?
Yeah.
Like kind of growling at people. And
Literally.
Samantha's like,
But not a
literally,
sexy
like,
growl.
no, not a rice and growl. No.
Even though he's referenced.
He is. That's not the growl I was like imagining in this situation.
Get off my lawn.
Exactly. Like, yelling at kids.
Yeah.
Not happy. Even puppies don't make him happy is kind of what I imagined.
Oh.
But Samantha's not doing any better. And it doesn't help that there's something going on with her dad, right? Which is, we find out later, depending on how you want to phrase it, her dad is seeking companionship outside of his marriage, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Yeah.
Tristan's not speaking to her because, she lashed out at him about supposedly destroying the air mattress and cock blocking her. And then her mom
she gets chorizo in every dish.
Right? Which, I mean, that would be a benefit to you, not to her.
I would love it. I would love the chorizo. Yeah.
Well, and I also did he make like pasta or ravioli with chorizo? Like, and like took the time to like hand make it. Like that's why I love his character. He is committed. I need a book.
Pettiness.
Right. I know there's at least 2 more books in this series, and she's already said who she's writing them about. And there's Xavier's friends, Mike and Chris. I really want her to write a book about Tristan because I just think, one, it would be
who can handle him?
Exactly. Who can handle him? And I would love to see that. Like, what kind of man does he need? Would love it.
Yeah.
But her mom has an outburst is what I'd call it, and it ends up with her needing to be taken by the ambulance because the family tries to contain her. Samantha's like earring, I think, gets ripped out at some point.
Yeah,
in the first outburst,
she gets like a fat lip. She gets like bonked, and it's
bad, and
good.
they can't get her mom to calm down. Which is, if you've never experienced it, it's really hard physically, but also emotionally and then you have to make the decision to call like 911, which is what they do. And you have to feel bad for them because they can't do anything to help in this situation. And so basically, like when they come back, her mom's going to stay in the hospital overnight for observation. The whole family's
she's basically, she's getting 5150, honestly. Yes. She has to go to the psych ward. Because they have to figure out like, okay, like what's going on with you? Yeah. So that's a hard call to make. And it's just like, it's the best call to make though. Like,
you don't have a choice, I think, in those situations. You really, for everyone's safety. But then like her dad comes back and, understands what's going on. And instead of like cleaning up the huge mess that was made in the kitchen, he's just like starts like, I don't want to clean this floor. So I'm going to start ripping shit out, which I feel like is something. I'm not saying that I've not done this before, but like, it's like that impulsive decision where like your life is in utter chaos right now. You cannot control any aspect of it. And so I'm going to like create additional chaos that I can control, which is, I'm like,
yeah.
Which is, we've been talking about this. They got a home improvement loan to do this. And now they're like, fuck it. We're going to rip out the kitchen, which then expands to like more places in the house. And it's a good distraction from this uncontrollable condition. But also all I thought of too was she doesn't deal well with change. Her mom. And I'm like, this is going to be a lot.
This is going to be hard for her.
A lot. It's going to be hard for her, which I don't think they really thought about. But I think that's very true of when you're going through it. There are things that you don't think will be a problem for a loved one that's suffering from this that turn out to be, and things that you think might bother them that don't. It's different for everyone. So there's not even like a handbook of what you can expect. And then we get this out of the blue call because Xavier calls and is like, hey, I'm in town for a conference. Can I take you out to dinner? Which like sounds legit at first because, I mean, he does need continuing education credits. But Tristan, Another reason why
And
I
there
love him
really
is
is
like,
a conference.
there really is a conference, right? Tristan's like, no, he came to see you, not the conference. Like, and they make a bet about it. Like, hey, if you win, like if he came here just to see you and not to go to the conference, like you have to buy me a tattoo. And they like negotiate the size of the tattoo. And
Yeah,
he ends up
yeah.
winning because Xavier did come out there just to see her.
Yep.
So
Of course he
she
did.
agrees. Of course he did, right? Like we knew that. So they agree to go to dinner. It's not a date. She's like, it's not a date. It's not a date. It's just friends. But then he brings her flowers and takes her to an expensive romantic restaurant where she is like, I'm paying for myself. He's like, no. She's like, then we can go somewhere else cheap and then, like, and I'll still pay for myself. And he just gives up arguing with her, right? So they end up spending 3 hours talking. And then he takes her home. And then, you know, like he barely touches her. And the truth comes out that he's like, can I see you in the morning? Or can I take you and the boys somewhere? And she was just like, what about the conference? He's like, I can miss it. And barely touches her. And then it was like, the truth comes out. I just want to be in the same room as you. And so that causes like whatever, like she's had so much like strength up until this point. She's like, I'm not going to touch him. I'm not going to think about this. But then it all falls down. Then they finally have sex, which I've been like waiting a while for because I thought we were getting it
just like
last trip. And the air mattress killed us. Oh. And then the shady hotel killed us. But finally, they end up having sex. We don't get a lot of details. And they decide to give long distance a try, which is easier said than done. I feel like a lot of couples go through this. We're like, yes, we'll do it. And then it's like, it'll be great. There's technology. There's flights.
Yeah, so you got FaceTime. You can make this work, right?
But you can't witness someone's life when you're not with them, I think, which is an important, I think, theme throughout the book. So he and he knows he's gonna have to make more money because he's barely scraping by as is to be able to come and see Samantha in California. So I think this is where you start to get him to see, like, before his goal was always about like his practice being successful, which is still a goal, but now his goal has really become about like making enough to be able to go see Samantha once a month or twice a month, which never really happens.
And then Xavier, he gets back to Minnesota, and his ladies in the vet clinic who are just like cheering him on, they immediately know something is up, and then it has to do with Samantha, which he admits. And there's just like a super funny conversation about like, well, are you exclusive? Is she your girlfriend? And he's just like, yes. And he feels super confident about it. And then he's like, well, now I don't know. Like, I need to go find out. I'll be right back. And he basically just like sneaks off to the back room. Yeah.
Because like what I love about that is I feel like that's something like back in the day you didn't really talk, like you didn't really have to have a conversation, but now it's like so common for people oftentimes to be like to date multiple people and not be exclusive. Like you have to have a conversation.
Yes. He's like, oh shit, is she getting back together like with that like ex baseball boyfriend? Like, I don't know. Like, I need to find out. Like, are we exclusive? Like, I want to have this conversation. And he like goes back to his room or his office and calls her, and he's like, so are you my girlfriend? Are you my girlfriend? And she's like, yes. And it like feels very much like in like middle school, you're passing notes back to each other like, will you be my boyfriend, girlfriend? Check yes, check no in the box. And you're just like, it's kind of cute. It's really sweet. And they're like, okay, we're dating. Yay, we're exclusive. But we still live 2,000 miles away. So that's a problem.
What's funny about that is my husband, when we were dating, we had that conversation. And this was like 20 plus years ago because we were only like 3 or 4 hours away at the time. But he was like, I was going to send this to you in the mail, but I didn't want to wait. And I was like, okay, what? And he was going to send me like a letter in the mail. It was like, will you be my girlfriend? Check yes or no. So he's like, I'll just ask it. And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, like, I thought that's what we were doing.
Thought we were. Whoops.
I thought we were. Whoopsies.
I'm glad we clarified this because I was under the assumption of yes.
Yes, I thought that was what was happening already. Because it's interesting, right? Like, because I think at that time we'd only been dating like maybe a month. But like, I thought that's like where it was headed anyways. Yeah. But he like wanted to be very formal about it, but couldn't wait to send me a letter in the mail.
So he did the romantic gesture, you know, like that's
yeah, sweet. It was very sweet.
Yeah. I honestly don't even think that my husband and I even had that convo. I think we were just like, yeah, we're together. And it was like 5 years later, will you marry me? He's like, well, yeah, I think I will. But it's so cute. I love that they did this little cute like phone call, like, "Are you my girlfriend? Are you my boyfriend?" But then we get an very unexpected trip because Samantha's company needs her to fly out to Minnesota for some in-person meetings. And she's like, "Yay, how fun. I get to see Xavier. Like, my company's going to pay for it. Don't have to worry. Double win. Great time." But she doesn't even tell him that she's coming, which again, you're like, communication people. Like, I get you want to be surprised and whatnot, but like, still, come on.
Do not surprise me by showing up at my house or my place of work without notice. I do not want that surprise. Unless you're bringing cookies, like gluten-free cookies or cupcakes, you can bring those, like, and drop them off.
Or a puppy.
No, I think I'd still want to pick out the puppy.
Yeah, I don't want cupcakes. Oh yeah, I want to pick out the puppy. Yeah. But it's still romantic, and she's like shows up at his office, and he like sees her through like the like double pane window, and he's just like, oh, I love her, I'll love her again. And you're like, yeah, you guys are meant to be together. It's great. Like, there's a fated mates there for you two, you know?
Yes.
But like, it's romantic but weird. Like, again, who doesn't communicate? But it's good to see them together, because then they're kind of like imagining what their life would be like in Minnesota if like she hadn't moved and she had stayed, and like you can really see that like they balance each other out really well, and they have great chemistry, evident by the other sex scene that we get, and you're like, okay. Not enough spice for me, but I'm glad it's there. And they finally, you know, again, get to be uninterrupted. But then when she's there for her work trip, she learns that her company is getting acquired, which is really kind of like why they wanted her in town. So at this point, she's like, okay, my job's gonna be fine. We're just like gonna have to work some things out. Like, my mustard brand is gonna have to start working with the, you know, competitive mustard brand, and we're just gonna like see what happens. But the key point of advice for anyone that's part of a company getting acquired, you should really start looking for another job, just in case. Because usually they say they won't cut jobs, which is partially true, but they just don't know. So like, you're not guaranteed. So always have plan B. And honestly, they always do end up cutting people they acquire, which sucks. I've been on that end. It's not fun.
It's not fun. And they will tell you it's not going to happen, and it will happen. Just not, maybe it's in a couple months, or like it is for her, or maybe it's in a year or two if it's a larger company, but it always does happen. But we also learned that Xavier's mom has been asking about him and also bragging about him because he, you know, being a vet, which I imagine he has like a lot of like scabs on wounds like related to his parents, and every time they reach out to him or like his dad views him on Instagram, it's like picking at a scab that kind of reopens that wound. But what's cool is he's very open with Samantha about it, and she points out to his mom that his mom is a narcissist, which is another similarity in a lot of parental figures and other Abby Jimenez books. Which, if you haven't read them, you've ever dealt with a narcissist in your life, you will feel very seen by all of her books in that regard.
You'd be like, you experience this too?
Right? Huh. Do we know the same people?
Interesting.
I may have said that out loud when I was reading some of her earlier books this year. I was like, I think we might know some of the same people. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But it's also another horrible experience because his mom then calls him at his office. And she does true, like, narcissistic gaslighting, blatant example of it, which is
that pissed me off so much.
It really did, but it happens to so many people where, like, your parents act like what happened to you as a child was not a big deal. And I get that in some situations, like, everyone has a different perspective of it and remembers things differently. But this is a very clear-cut case. Like, they physically abused him and verbally and emotionally abused him. Like, and he was a child.
You can't really pretend that didn't happen.
Like, right? Or that there was any reason that was okay. So, and she, like, makes comments almost like he deserves some of it. And I'm just like, oh, I got so angry for him, for, like, the situation. I got angry at people who are like that, who take like zero responsibility for what they've done, like for herself or for her husband, which is like, and it's a real situation that happens to more people than it should, unfortunately. And I think the other thing it does is it shows you like how much he's been through, and even now as an adult still goes through. Like, his parents while he doesn't speak to them, they still try and reach out to manipulate and control him in the ways that they can. But it also speaks to like character. And I know like originally when we get like the Rysand vibes comments early in the book, you're led to believe a lot. Like it's kind of how he looks and he's kind of broody but sweet. But I also think it reminded me a lot of like one of the things that some people talk about, but not as many, is like Rysand had a very traumatic experience under the mountain. Because I think in a lot of ways, right, like he was sexually assaulted that entire time. And so this reminded me a lot of that parallel, which is like you've had really horrific things happen to you, but you can still be an incredible human otherwise. Or fae.
Defy the odds.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that was just like what happens to you doesn't have to define who you choose to become. I think that was an important piece of this book that isn't like super blatant, but that I took away from it.
Yeah. Like your past can make you or break you. It's up to you.
Yes, 100%.
But it's not easy.
And it's not easy, no. And even if it does break you, it doesn't mean you can't pull yourself up from it and rebuild and become who you choose to be.
Exactly.
But then we get 4 more weeks of separation before they get to see each other again, which is, it's hard. It's hard to be separated from the person you love. And you basically see Xavier working himself to the ground, trying to afford like tickets to come out and see Samantha. And then she's continuing to watch her mom. And it just seems as time goes on, her family continues to struggle more and more. But his next trip out here is my favorite because we get the VILF, which is
that
right? Yes. So I love the acronym.
Vet I like to fuck. Yes.
Right?
VILF.
And he becomes a social media icon, not by choice. They're at the grocery store. And what I love about this is it's like such kind of like the typical thing that you would actually see happen. You go to the grocery store as a normal couple and he sees it's hot. There's dog's panting in the car. The windows are up and he breaks the window and the dog like basically is quasi dead. And he's like pouring water on the dog, like helping it breathe and all that stuff. And then people start filming it, which is what you also see happen, right? The police come and the asshole who left his dog in the car is like, you broke my window, blah, blah, blah. Isn't going to take the dog to the vet, right? Like you're a horrible person. And my favorite part is like someone has not just filmed this, but has, used really great editing and storytelling to make it. I think they reference like it's almost like that Top Gun, like in Maverick, where you see them like wiping their shirt on, like sweaty and glistening. And I'm just like, exactly. I'm like, they've up-leveled the cinema of this. So he is going everywhere on social. And her grandma starts reading some of the comments at dinner, which is, they're all like super inappropriate.
Yeah, like, oh, grandma.
Right? Which I just love. But it's also how now Samantha has a cat and now she has a dog. Because we take in strays.
Yep.
Which
stray people and stray animals.
Yes. Love it.
Honestly, yeah, like, if you think about that, like, he's a stray. Like, he's trying to find his family love, and she's like, I'm going to take you in.
Yes.
Like, you have a butthole? Do I need to do a surgery for your butthole?
Do I need a Kickstarter to raise money? Or a GoFundMe?
I think she probably already knows at this point if he has a butthole.
I would assume so.
We didn't get details, but like they've been intimate, so who knows?
Assume.
But this dog also has his own butthole, so we're good. But no, seriously, it makes me so mad when I see people doing that, and I'm always like, I watch. I'm like, are they coming back? Is the window cracked? Like, how hot is it outside? How hot is it inside the car? Like, I haven't pulled like the trigger on like doing something like that yet, but I've thought about it, and I'm sure I will at some point in my life.
Yes, it makes you really angry. Or people will be like, "Well, the window was cracked." I'm like, unacceptable. 100% unacceptable.
Yeah, it's not cracked enough, and it's still not like that doesn't do anything.
No,
honestly,
I have seen people where they'll have the car running. And the car's locked, they have an extra set of keys, and the dog's inside, and there's like a note they put up. They're like, I'm inside, I'll be 5 minutes, the air conditioner's on. Please don't break my window. And I'm like,
yes.
Touché. But I also feel like in
Okay.
the world of where like so many stores are supportive of bringing animals in now, like you can take your dog into Lowe's.
Yeah.
So if I
But
ever
what if
see a
your
dog in a
dog's what
Lowe's,
if your dog's not friendly though, like to other
oh,
people?
that's true.
You just
Then
never
take your
know.
dog
But
home and
still,
then go to
yeah,
Lowe's.
exactly. Just don't leave your dog in the car. If you can
No.
avoid it, don't do it. Same with your kid. Like you don't leave your kid in the
Yes.
car.
Well, unfortunately, some people do, which is another problem.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So next we have Christmas Eve. Yay! And Maggie and Tina have found a perfect solution to some of Xavier's problems. The vet that they previously worked for, Dr. Hank, wants to come work for Xavier for free because he misses the people and needs to get out of his house since his wife died. And you're like, that's sad. Plus, he can remember how hard it was to be in your first few years when you're starting a vet, like the debt and everything you're trying to go. But it's like a huge godsend for Xavier because this means the clinic can take on more patients and he can stop working so many hours, give him a break, go see Samantha, like literally like answer to all your prayers. But unfortunately, like you think like everything's great. Samantha calls and her grandmother died and he just drops everything right then and there and he's like, I'm coming to California. And like it's super expensive. It's last minute. It's Christmas Eve. He has to buy a first class ticket, which, oh my
Ouch.
God.
Right?
But yeah, that's tough. But like, that's the thing about Xavier. He's always going to be there when she needs him. And he's going to take it to the next level on this trip. He's like, I'm going to take care of the entire family. I'm going to ensure you have everything that you need. It's like, your family's my family now, pretty much. Like, and again, he gives like the most thoughtful gift ever. It's Christmas. And he gives her a seashell necklace using a shell that he found when they were in Santa Monica together. And it's just like so sweet. And he's just like so loving. And he gets a replacement pair of earbuds after she accidentally swallowed one of hers. It's a funny little story there, you know?
Right?
Yeah. And then he makes her a custom playlist before he has to head back to Minnesota. And it's just like, even though like it's a very hard and sad time for their family, like he tries to make the best of it. And like he shows them like I can take care of you. Even though I never had anybody take care of me. And you're like,
Heartstrings.
yeah.
I know.
And it also like really changes the relationship because it's the first time that they say I love you. And he starts to see a home where she is versus like my home's not in Minnesota. My home is where you are. And so you just really see like the progression on the relationship, even though they're really far away. And so the funeral comes and it's really, really, really hard on everybody. But the drama really continues when Samantha's dad tells the family, like, yeah, she had a heart condition and she didn't want anyone else to know because we're all taking care of, the mom. So she's like, don't worry about me. Like, I'm fine. But clearly you weren't fine. And, the grandma was one of the people taking care of her mom. So it's just hard. You have one less caregiver. And also, like, you're now emotionally, like, trying to deal with, like, how do you tell your mom that her mom's passed? Like, that's hard. So he brings up the idea of potentially putting her in an assisted living center, which nobody reacts well to. They all just freak out over this. Causes a lot of accusations to be thrown around the room. But it does feel like a very authentic moment, especially anybody who's making this decision that needs to have long-term care for somebody. It's impossible to like feel like you're making the right decision. There really is no right answer. You have to do what's best for the individual and for your family. And it's a hard point. And it's just, I feel for them because I've been in this situation. I've been here where like I had to go find a memory care place for my dad. I've toured a bunch of places. And even like when we ended up taking my dad to it, like he fought us on it. He's like, no, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to go. And you're just like trying not to be emotional about it because you're like, you have, this is for the safety of everyone. I mean, they don't end up making that decision, which, but still, it's just like the conversation is difficult for them for sure.
Well, and I think the other thing it brings up is I think anytime you have that conversation, like the first one or two times, everyone has typically like a pretty negative reaction to it because it's not what you would envision or imagine. But I think as time goes on, people start to like better understand what it really takes to take care of someone in that situation, how hard it is on everyone involved, on the caregivers, both physically and emotionally, how hard it is on that person too, because you also have to ask, like, at what point is being in a surrounding where they don't know everyone and they don't remember who they are, where they are, or they see things that trigger them, is that good for them as well too?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if they're just sitting in front of on the couch watching TV all day, like is that worth it in terms of like what you're doing and stuff for them? Like if they're able to get out and like hit people or like get into a car and like hurt someone, like that safety measure is not okay. And it's
And I think
hard.
until you experience some of those types of situations, it's easy to say like, "Oh no, they should stay home." And then I think when the first one happens, I think it becomes people start to then go, "Oh, like now like they start to get it." So I wish more people would just understand that making that decision to put someone in, whether it's memory center or assisted living, it's it's not a failure on anyone's part. It's about doing what's best for everyone involved. It's oftentimes like the best decision that you could possibly, and most heartfelt decision that you can make for everyone. But it's hard.
Like yeah. It's like you sometimes feel like, did I do enough? Like did I give up on helping this person that I love? And it's like, no, you didn't. If anything, like you showed that you love them more. Like
Exactly.
it's a different kind of love and strength that you have to come with. And then figuring out life after that is hard too. Oof.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then because we are going to kick Samantha while she's down, she
Oh
gets laid off,
God.
right? I was just like, this poor woman. And Xavier can't, like, he can't fly out there now, or he just barely got back. So he does his best to support her. Like when she calls him crying, he can hear her mom in the background asking about where her mom is, and
Yeah, and you're
that's
just like,
hard, right?
yeah.
Like daggers to the heart. And he's like, have your mom go outside. She's usually calm outside. You listen to this. I'll send you a custom playlist, which I love that he sends her music to help calm her down. And then he has like her favorite iced coffee delivered. And all I thought was like, this is like top tier relationship support that you can do for someone, no matter, or friendship or support, no matter how far apart you are. Right. Like it wasn't expensive. It was very thoughtful and meaningful. So 3 months later, Xavier's supposed to come see Samantha, but he's extremely sick with what he thinks is like a sinus infection. Okay. Goes to urgent care. So she doesn't think he's coming. She's super grumpy because she hasn't seen him and she's been laid off, doesn't have a job, is taking the primary one taking care of her mom. And Tristan, another reason why I love him is like, this is how I envisioned it in my head. He like comes in her room and get the fuck up and start
Yeah.
packing. Like,
Yeah.
no, hey, I did something really nice for you. Like your plane leaves in like 2 hours. Get the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You're
he's
like,
like, I'm tired of you like bitching and moaning about this. Like, you need to go see him, which is like honestly like a super thoughtful thing to do. But once again, she doesn't communicate with him. He doesn't communicate with her. She assumes he's not coming because he's sick. So she flies halfway across the country and he's in California in her apartment, sitting on her bed. Yep. What the fuck?
literally fly past
Communicate
each other in the air, and you're
in
like,
the air.
guys.
Guys, basic communicate. Like, we have talked about everything in this relationship except where we physically are going to be for the next 24 to 48 hours. Like, let's do that. Also, why don't you share your location with each other? That was my next question.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
you're in a relationship, share your location. And then if you forgot to tell someone that you bought a plane ticket and plan on flying halfway across the country to see them, they might see you at the airport. So he then has to
That would
fly
have been a
back.
funnier moment if they like, if she was like about to get on the flight while he's like coming out, and she's like that would have been better. I feel like
That would have been funny.
But also,
Or
we
if
kind
she
of
would
saw
have
this coming.
Yeah.
Like I
Like
just anticipated this. Like when she like showed up to surprise him at the office, I was like, what if he wasn't there? Like, what if he surprised her and they missed each other? And I'm like, oh well, of course this was gonna happen.
Well, then the poor guy has to he can get back to Minnesota faster than she can get back to California. So he flies back. And she's like so excited to
so
see
sick.
him, but he's so sick. He has a fever and she checks his pulse ox and he's like, I think I need to go to the hospital because he has double pneumonia. He's been literally working himself to death. So they spend
Yeah.
almost the entire trip in the hospital while he's trying to get better. And then they have like this really honest conversation about where like I think he thinks she's going to break up with him because she's like, this is literally killing you. And they both admit like how hard the separation is, but they also acknowledge, which I think is a very true thing, which is they don't want to give each other up. But it is difficult. But then we get the twist I didn't see coming. Dr. Hank, which is the old man that came before. He's been like a huge help the past few months. Like when Xavier has been out dealing with everything in California and why I was out sick. And it turns out he's the vet that helped Xavier with Winnie when he was a kid, which is like, I was shook by that. Like it was so heartwarming. And then he has the best conversation with Xavier about life and the choices you can make in it. And his advice was like, nothing else matters but the people you love, even if you have to lose everything. And he shares how, you know, like you see me as a successful vet, but what you don't realize is before I had that successful vet clinic, I had 2 businesses fail. Right. And like he's been through this bankruptcy and all these things because Xavier's very worried about like my credit, debt, like all of these things that will, I think we've been told, will destroy you.
All the things we're told, like these are things that really matter in life. Like,
correct.
You need to have like X, Y, and Z in your bank account. You need to have this. And it's like, no. Like, you don't need that to be happy.
You don't need
Does
that
it help?
to be happy.
Yes, but don't need that.
You don't. And he reminds Xavier that like your parents are waiting for you to fail while you and Samantha are waiting on forever. And you still have a chance to make memories. And he makes this comment about like if he had what he would give for like one more day with his wife, which like really hit home. And it was one of my favorite parts of the entire book.
I cried.
I did too. I did.
Like,
I did too because and I feel like it's such there's so many things that you can take from it. One, it can be about relationships, right? And about it's okay to let other things go, to be even things you've been chasing, to be with the person that you feel like you're meant to be with. But I think it's also about just everything in life. Like sometimes I feel like people chase certain career goals or aspects because that's what they think they need to do. And then they're worried about like, well, if I do what I really want, how will people see me? And the reality is like, who the fuck cares? Do what makes you happy. Like stop waiting and worrying about what other people think. There's a small core group of people who are going to love you for you. Screw everyone else. Literally, not figuratively.
Yeah. Don't figuratively screw other people. Yeah. Unless you're into that. Unless that makes you happy. I guess. So now it's time for the intervention that Samantha stages to get her family back in line because it's just chaos there. Like no one's talking to each other. No one's like helping each other. It's just, she gives them 2 options here. She's like, hey, I got a new job. I got like an offer here. So I can either take this new job and mom goes to memory care, or like we hire full-time help, or I turn down this job and I become my mom's full-time caregiver during the day, but nights and weekends, you guys are on it. Like we'll alternate cooking, kind of stick to our plan we had before. Like I'll pay for my portion of the rent and like the loans, and like everyone is finally being honest about their feelings and working together to try and keep their mom at home for as long as possible. But it's just like, I would have, anyway, I don't agree with them. But 3 months later, it's Samantha and Xavier's first anniversary since they met. So, you know, they have the whole like dock boat situation anniversary moment. And they haven't seen each other in a few months. And he's made her an anniversary playlist. And then he shows up with flowers in her backyard and she's listening to it. And just, he completely surprises her. And it's just like, Jake's there. Like she like turns around, you know, she's like listening to music and it's like, you're here with flowers and the dog. Like what? And he's just like, it was a one-way ticket, one-way trip for me. Like I'm here. I'm not going back. I'm in love with you. And like being without you is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. And like, he's like, I'm gonna mitigate this like damage from leaving the practice, but like I want to be with you more and like prove again to a point to his parents like he didn't fail. He's successful in like life and love. And he proposes. And like you're just like, oh my God, yes, like we're here. And like it's a really sweet moment because her mom is there and like watches it and like she understands. Like, this is like a moment for her that she's like, I'm connected, I'm here, like I see this happening, and like there's joy. And so that's a really beautiful moment right there where it's like she can still be present when it matters truly. And like I think for Samantha and Xavier's like the relationship, it's like she was there for part of it. So it's not like she missed out on everything. Like she was there for like the most important part, really. So that's nice. And then in the epilogue, we learned that Xavier and Samantha get married. Yay! And more of Dr. Hank, thank you, Dr. Hank, more of his friends have stepped up to help out Xavier in the Minnesota at the practice there so that he doesn't have to sell it. And he actually is able to open a practice in California. So he gets to live his little dream there. And, you know, Samantha's family is still like together, working everything out to help each other, to help their mom. And like, it turns out okay for everybody in the end. You know, they got Jake from State Farm is there.
We got the pug, we got Pooter. We never got a name for the pug.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to think, like, wait,
I don't think we got a name.
That one. I don't think we did. So,
we need
that. Well, yeah. But yeah, it was just, you know, it was a good book. It was a very good. I think it focused a lot more on like relationship building and like overcoming trauma in your life than it necessarily focused on like the spice and like the steamy, like sexy scenes like that we normally really enjoy. But it still was like a very just like cathartic read.
Yes.
You know, where you're just like, it breaks up the usual stuff that we kind of are like into sometimes. And it's like, you know what, let's step into another world. Where like someone else is really going through this and like we get to witness their life, you know, as they try and figure out how to witness each other's lives. We get to witness theirs. And it's very nice.
Well, and I feel like it's a good balance because, right, the last book we covered on the show was The Never List, which was like 5 peppers.
Yeah.
This book,
it's like the opposite.
Opposite end of the spectrum is a 2 pepper for us. Because we just don't get, I mean, we do get like 2 sex scenes, but there's not like a ton of details. You know, we'd always want more sex scenes. We'd always want more details. That is who we are and what we want.
Yeah. But you know, I do feel like if we had gotten that in this book, it probably would have taken away from the other stuff. You know?
I think it would have too.
So
like if it would have been too much.
Yeah, like chapter 22, we get the sex for the first time, but like no real details. And then chapter 25, you get sex in his apartment, which is nice. And you're like, okay, like this is a little bit spicy, but again, like no details. They just kind of like skim over it, you know, where it's like, okay, like he pulls my pants down and he, you know, plays with me because he's really into foreplay. And you're like, okay, yeah, all right, where are we going? But then it just kind of like skips over it. It's very PG-13.
Yes,
very
much so.
Where it's like, you know, it's happening. She like kind of says it, but she doesn't go into details of like, he hit my clit or he hit or like the cock and blah, blah, blah. It's very much like, we had sex, you know?
It was
like,
great.
Kind of like,
and Megan and I are like, where are the details?
Yeah, this is very much like a Disney sex scene, if you will, where it's like, ooh. And I'm like, where's my NSFW?
Right? This one, I would say, was very safe for work in terms of like the steamy sections.
Yes.
So,
but maybe not safe in terms of like your emotional trauma damage where you're just like crying all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people like when it comes to summer books, like this cover, right, is very like summer-esque and beautiful. Yes. And it makes you think like, oh, it's going to be this wonderful, lighthearted book. And I'm like, Abby Jimenez will destroy you emotionally. Yes. So
yes, we should. So instead of a pepper rating, we should do like a tears rating.
Yes. Okay, we'll have to add that. Like a tear. Like how many tears will you cry? How many boxes of Kleenex will you need?
Yes.
Because I would not recommend reading this at like the pool or the beach because I don't love to read books that make you cry when you wear sunscreen.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Right, because it gets in your eyes and then it's like you're rubbing your face and I feel like then it makes you cry worse and it's just like a hot mess express. At least for me personally.
This is like a good book to read when you're like kind of like in a moody environment. Like maybe it's raining outside or it's just like a little like chilly, but like not cold cold. It could be cold depending where you live, but like, you know, it's not like a hot summer outside. Like you want to go do stuff. Uh, but still a really good read, honestly. It's easy read, fast read, but
Yes.
it still has like that lovely, like, honestly, like the banter between the two of them. Like Samantha's hilarious. Obviously love Tristan. And like seeing Xavier come out of his shell is like really worth it.
I agree.
Yeah.
The other thing there's been a lot of chatter about on social is like, and we've mentioned a couple times, some people do not love that she mentioned Rysand and like an Akatar. Like there's been some serious hate about this, and I'm like, why? Like where
It
is
brings
this
it to
coming from?
reality. I'm
It
just like,
does. And they're like, well, it's just like a very trendy thing. And I'm like, so was the word vibes today, but like whatever. But what I think
yeah.
it does is I didn't have to have a ton of description of what he physically looked like, or even his personality when they were like, "You're like Rysand," and I was like, oh,
Got it.
oh,
Perfect.
okay,
Done.
got it, done."
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're reading this book, it would be hard pressed for me to believe that you don't know who Rysand is. Like honestly, like if
Yeah.
you're into she's
Like
safe
this
and
book
trees,
is
you guys.
clearly like way after Akatar. So it's like we're assuming you read it.
Correct.
Now
I
it'd
didn't
be
need six.
weird if somebody referenced Rysand in another romantasy book.
Yes,
Like
that would
that's
be weird.
That like those are two realms that should not cross. This is okay because again, it's contemporary. It's like literally like you and I are having a long distance podcast. Like we can talk about this.
Yes.
It's okay. So it's fun. But the other,
Yeah,
honestly, oh yeah.
I was gonna say the only time you should reference Rysand in other romantic books is if Sarah J. Maas is writing them.
Yes, exactly.
Then it's allowed. Otherwise, no.
Always no. Contemporary you can reference, but
Yes.
like Rebecca Yarros is never gonna mention Rysand while she's talking about Fourth Wing stuff. Like, no, that makes no sense.
It was really hard for me to read this and read Xavier because in my brain is Satan. Like if I see any male character's name with the X, my brain is Satan. Satan.
Yeah, Satan. Yeah,
Satan.
for sure, for sure. And honestly, the only other thing that like kind of made my eyes roll and like we've talked about it a lot was just like the unrealistic, frustrating like lack of communication between them. You're just like, come on, guys! If you're flying across the country, like who doesn't tell somebody again, like I'm gonna come and see you, like also your emergency contact, you know, like hey, like my flight gets in here, like honestly nowadays, like half of the flights aren't making them places, like your plane could crash these days terrifying as it is, like a Boeing every once in a while like has some kind of failure happening and you're just like, oh shit. Like I would want to know if my loved one was on that plane.
Right.
So
Or just like, I don't know where they are, like what part of the country they're in. I feel like that's a really basic safety.
safety. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
like
communication.
she's a social media manager. Like, is she not posting on Instagram like her own stories? Like, I know she doesn't really have one, but like still like mustard that travels. Like you can make something fun with that.
Exactly.
Give hints that you're traveling. Anyway, they figured it out in the end. He moved, which was
They
a good
did.
move.
I mean, I would choose California over Minnesota. Minnesota's really cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cheaper to live in Minnesota, but
True.
it's California. Okay. So, what's next? If you enjoyed this book, we think you'll also love all of Abby Jimenez's books. Top favorites, Just for the Summer, Part of Your World, Life's Too Short. And then we also would recommend every contemporary romance book written by Rebecca Yarros, who is great at making you swoon and cry, which is what I feel like Abby Jimenez does. Specifically, her Flight and Glory series and The Likely Event and Variation are very good if you like this type and style of book. And then The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston also has like this heavy, in-depth topics that make you feel a lot, as well as romance. So if you kind of like having your heart ripped out and crying while also like swooning, that's another great book as well.
Just get emotionally damaged and just like
I like to be emotionally ruined sometimes when I read contemporary romance. I'm like, I need you to destroy me at some point. I need to cry. I need to swoon. Laughs are great, but I do feel like I need those books along with like the rom-coms that we've covered as well.
Yeah, it's fun. It's For sure. Very true. And then please join us next week when we drop 2 episodes where we discuss the second book in the Agitators series, Those Three Little Words by Megan Quinn. And then we dive into the second book in the Blood and Ash series, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, by Jennifer Armentrout. So can't wait to get back into that world, share everything with you guys, and happy reading.
Happy reading. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast, and check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast, and share the show with your fellow book lovers.